What just happened to Bitcoin? All of a sudden it's primed to hit 200K plus. I mean, there's been countless updates, like the fact that banks can now hold crypto. That's big. I mean, everything is working together right now, meaning Bitcoin already hit an all-time high and is primed to go much higher. Up next is 120, 150, or even $200,000. Even former crypto hater Warren Buffett, who literally called it rat poison, now has ownership in a crypto exchange and digital bank. Very interesting. And pair this with new regulations coming out of the US, we are primed for a golden age of crypto. Demand for institutional and national crypto adoption throughout the world is becoming more and more common. So a lot is going on, and crypto, especially Bitcoin, feels very, very bullish right now. It feels like we're on the cusp of a pump, but not everyone agrees that this is a good thing. Some say that institutions like banks adopting Bitcoin goes against everything that Bitcoin and crypto has stood for from the beginning. So let's dig into this and see just how high Bitcoin could pump this year. All things considered, we're gonna break this down. And no, this isn't financial advice. This is just coming from a guy who owns millions of dollars in crypto telling you his analysis. SAB 121. So a whole lot of drama has been made about SAB 121 and it being taken down. And it's surprising how fast this was rolled back. But what does this actually mean? Well, it's a good thing for anyone who's holding crypto. SAB 121 forced companies to show crypto held for customers as both a liability and an asset on their balance sheets. This made holding crypto unattractive because it made their financial statements look riskier. This looked especially bad for banks' financial statements. But now that SAB 121 is gone, the disincentive is gone, meaning banks can now hold crypto for its customers without this negative side effect. This is what Michael Saylor, the famous Bitcoin bull, was tweeting about. By the way, follow me on Twitter for more instant analysis of the market. You're missing out if you're not. The idea, though, is that this opens the floodgates for banks and other companies to buy up swaths of Bitcoin, thereby pumping the price. On paper, it makes sense. As of yet, though, we haven't seen many, if any, banks enter the space. Sure, the ETFs approved in early 2024 gave us a taste of what this could be like, but there were other problems at the time. Massive SEC regulation, legal action against the industry. Some crypto exchanges say they were debanked and shut out of the financial system entirely. So let's just take a moment and reflect on how Bitcoin performed in 2024 against a headwind of regulation. Now let's imagine what it could achieve with regulations supporting it, a tailwind propelling the market forward. It makes Bitcoin predictions like 120K or even 150K super believable. 200K? We'll get to that in a minute, because there's another elephant in the room that we need to talk about first. The strategic Bitcoin reserve. Making good on his campaign promises, Trump has ordered his administration to evaluate the potential for a national digital asset stockpile. This is part of his plan to make the US the crypto capital of the world. He's even appointed Senator Loomis to lead the subcommittee on digital assets. This is big because Loomis was behind the Loomis bill, aka the bill that first proposed creating the strategic Bitcoin reserve by buying 1 million Bitcoin. That would be 5% of the total supply purchased and off the market and held by the United States. This would mirror the size and scope of the gold reserves held by the United States. So these two moves alone send a huge bullish signal for two reasons. The US buying a large amount of Bitcoin would make headlines and drive a whole lot of retail investment FOMOing into the asset because they're like, hey, the government is buying it. Let me get some of this before Brazil does. And two, the US buying a large amount of Bitcoin would likely drive its allies and rivals to do the same. Even anti-crypto countries like China have already becoming more open to it. And three, here's a bonus reason, individual states could and probably would follow suit. Many states like Texas and Pennsylvania have already proposed holding crypto. So I guess the general idea here is that the US actually pursuing any kind of Bitcoin or crypto reserve would likely have some kind of cascade effect, triggering more and more adoption across multiple levels of the global economy, nationwide, statewide, on a personal, individual level. More people would simply buy crypto because the US did it and they led the charge. Price-wise, this could have an even larger impact than banks holding it, far larger. But if both happen, banks and the US, then numbers like 200K for Bitcoin doesn't seem impossible. Who knows what the ceiling could be? Although, I'm not sure if I'm that bullish for that price right now, and it ties into what Trump holds himself. Trump's holdings. One thing I noticed on Trump's executive order of the strategic reserve was that it didn't mention Bitcoin. It said all kinds of cool stuff like banning CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, but it didn't name Bitcoin or any crypto in particular. Obviously, the cryptos that make it into the strategic reserve would be the ones that would be most likely to pump. So we want to know which ones those would be, ideally ahead of, everyone else. Some clues lie potentially in what cryptos Trump himself holds, not the Trump meme coin, other things. World Liberty Financial is one major source here. His wallet is another. If we look at World Liberty on Arkham, we can see that they own 170 million of ETH, 60 million of wrapped Bitcoin, 59 million of staked ETH, and a ton of money in stablecoins, and then positions like Link, Aave, and Athena. This account is actually far more pro-Ethereum than Bitcoin. But what about Trump's wallet? What is he holding in there? Tons of meme coins, Trog, Trump, then USDC, yes, some Matic. There's tons of cryptos here, so it's hard to get an exact sense of it all, but all of his outflows are in Ethereum. Ethereum after Ethereum after Ethereum. So all of this points more towards Ethereum than Bitcoin, which echoes what I've seen elsewhere. Steno Research is predicting Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin in 2025. But look, just because Trump seems to like ETH doesn't mean it's absolutely going to be in the strategic reserve. It's just a favorable sign. Either way though, his activity in crypto does seem like he'd want a strategic crypto reserve. Like he personally would want this to happen. It would just make him more money, a lot of money, like potentially more money than all of his real estate ever combined. However, there isn't a ton of evidence to suggest that he'd be incentivized to put Bitcoin in there. So does this dampen the 200K bullish predictions? It's hard to say exactly because on one side, you would say it's insane not to put Bitcoin in the strategic reserve, like that is the whole reserve, right? Well, we'd think yes, but we can't say for certain. That's where there is some uncertainty in the potential price. Kyle's analysis. Another important price prediction comes from Kyle Chisholmore, the head of research at FINOVA. During the last year or so, he turned 10 Bitcoin into 40 Bitcoin, around $4 million by trading Bitcoin. He uses on-chain rules to determine the top and when he's going to sell any individual position he's in. Looking at data like the Nupal chart, he puts the current market top at around $120,000 conservatively. The Nupal chart helps you tell whether Bitcoin is full of unrealized profits or unrealized losses. Values above zero indicate that the network is in overall profit, while values below zero indicate the network is in overall loss. Highly positive Nupal values indicate an overvaluation of the Bitcoin network, and a relatively negative Nupal value indicates an undervaluation of the Bitcoin network. So as you can see, we are dangerously near default horizontal top. This is just one tool that Kyle uses, but it helps him make a conservative estimate of Bitcoin's future price action. That way he can choose targets to take profits. And as I said, he's traded his way up to over $4 million, up from $26 initially in Bitcoin years ago. So he knows what he's doing. As far as analysis goes, I take his advice over anyone else. He gives trade signals week in, week out, helping traders take profits like this, this, and this. If you want to follow his trades in real time, real quick, that'll be linked in FINOVA down below in the description of this video. Now, Kyle's analysis of $120,000 is conservative, and that analysis is if the market jumps right up to 120K. There's an exception. The longer we keep consolidating around this 100K price range, the higher the future price ceiling gets, potentially much higher than 120K. But what about the negative arguments against Bitcoin right now? Negative arguments. Not all opinions on Bitcoin being potentially institutionalized are positive. Some analysts argued, quote, the entire Bitcoin community is now on their knees for the banksters and begging them to hold it for them. The fact is, the true purpose of Bitcoin has been entirely lost years ago due to irrational collective greed and delusion that has infected their cult. Concluding, it won't end well. Others were more balanced, saying that custodians were sometimes necessary. However, while prominent figures like Michael Saylor are pro-institutional adoption, likely because that would pump the price, other figures like Vitalik call his view batshit insane. And yes, while institutional adoption would probably pump the price to 120, 150, or even 200K, we would be straying pretty far from crypto's original decentralized vision. Maybe this is just a brief period of more centralization before a future of less and less centralization, more decentralization. Another argument here which stood out to me was the fact that crypto merging with financial institutions might expose us to new risk due to the financial sector's history of greed and money mismanagement. After all, just look at what happened in 2008 in mortgages. Are these guys really the ones who are going to take care of our crypto? Probably not. We need to realize that we're on this path on our own ultimately. Institutions can help, but they're only going to help us to the degree that they are helping themselves. So where do I think the price will go? 120, 150, 200K, 500K? Well, to explain, I need to talk about this guy. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has made headlines in the past for shitting on crypto. Again, calling it rat poison, saying crypto doesn't do anything, saying he wouldn't touch it with a rotten stick. He doesn't have a position in it. Well, look at New Holdings, a Brazilian digital banking company that has its own cryptocurrency arm. One way or another, Warren Buffett is now making money from digital assets.
Welcome to the club, man.
This is interesting. He has spent 2024 hoarding billions in cash, US Treasury bills, skipping the opportunity to buy hot tech stocks that everyone else was losing their mind for. But despite that, he didn't skip on the crypto-affiliated bank. Does this mean that Bitcoin is going to fly to 200K and beyond absolutely right now? No. But I would say a conservative analysis, $140,000 Bitcoin is totally feasible within the next 3 months if things go well. And if they keep going well, 200K Bitcoin is feasible within the next 12 months. That's just the facts. Things are working for it right now. It is an extremely exciting time. So I'll see you next time. I hope you have a profitable day.